Hello, guys, and welcome back to Joe's Ventures. And today we're going to be doing another episode of our Jurassic World Evolution Accurate Dinosaur Mod Collection, where we take a look at a bunch of different animals and a bunch of different dinosaurs people have been making and compare them to their real life fossil counterparts. So today, I know we've been going over them. I want to get many of these out as possible before the end of this kind of 5-day thing until the release of Jurassic World Evolution 2, and I've got about another 3 more parts for that, so I'm quite excited to get that sorted. But yeah, today we've got a big pack. I omitted a couple animals because I already covered them, but this is a really interesting pack with all sorts of cool animals that really awesome. So a lot of them are made by Zach. If you guys know Zach, he's done a few things. He did Edmontonia a while ago, Argentinosaurus, and he's got his own YouTube channel where he's done all sorts of things he hasn't released yet, but I hope he does, because lots of really cool animals he's made there. And also supporting this pack by Zach was also Maxley and Game Videos for Life. So all the animals in this episode have been done by those few people, or those 3 people, so make sure you get credited. I'll go over and who said it again and who done it again right at the end. So that'll be fun. So yeah, let's get ourselves into it. So yeah, we're going to be starting with our first little cosmetic remake. We have got Santasaurus. Look at that, isn't that wonderful? So we're going to wait for him to go grab his food. So I'm not going to go too much over how this guy, but I will give a little introduction. So let's have a look at this wonderful fellow. So as we can see here, it's very different from the original one in game. We can see all the changes and stuff. Clearly walks on 4 legs instead of 2, which would be the more accurate way. So Tyrannosaurus, which means Pudong lizard or Tsang toe lizard, is a genus of hadrosaur dinosaur from China. They got about 8 meters long, or 27 feet, and 2.5 tons, and was described by the Chinese paleontologist C. Young in 1958. So we can see a lot of the changes if you compare this to the original Jurassic World Evolution to Santasaurus. You can see some major differences here. You can see the tails. It walks on 4 legs now, which is more accurate. And we also see that there's this wonderly little hoof here that we know from animals like Edmontosaurus that likely most hadrosaurs had a sort of hoof going on, similar to something like you'd see in a deer or something like that. Really cool. And we can see the back's a little bit more lower, all that. Really nice. And then we can see here the edited crest. It looks really nice. Looks really nice based off the skull here. So yeah, this is a more accurate version, which is really cool. So the thing that kind of makes the Santasaurus so charismatic is the crest that it has here. And when it was originally found, it was thought to look quite phallic, and a lot of reconstructions had it like that. But eventually in the 90s, they found that there was a second specimen, 2013, that had a much better preservation of the crest, and showed that it had a much more, instead of that more phallic crest, as I mentioned, it had a much more wide crest like this, so it just sticks up really tall like that. And I think it came out rather wonderfully, and I think it looks like a really interesting animal, this new reconstruction. And as I mentioned, about 8 meters long and 2.5 tons. It's quite distinctive in a lot of ways from other Lambeosaurines, I believe. Is it Lambeosaurine? Yep. So yeah, got thick nostrils on the rim and things like that. Really interesting animal. So this guy forms a really interesting clade within Lambeosaurine, which is Santasaurine, which is, it clades with Santasaurus and Parahebalodon. which is an early relative of animals that led into Parasaurolophony, which includes obviously Parasaurolophus and Tyrannosaurus, and then Lambeosaurine, which leads into Lambeosaurus and Herosaurus and animals like that. So a really early relative of these guys. And it's also believed that these guys also lived in herds. And there was a study of dinosaur eggs in the successive layers of the Wanshi series in the Shandong province. And it showed the most recent layer showed the reason of one of highest dinosaur diversity was the climate had been dried by the preceding formation. So it seems that the formation that this guy was found in, I believe was found at the Zhouding formation, or the one under it. Yep. So what happened was, it seemed to be as the climate got a little bit dry, a little bit wetter, there was seemed to be a little bit more open area, so higher dinosaur diversity. Could be plenty of other factors as well. Hopefully you guys don't hear the car, but that's okay. So I think this guy came out really well. So let's watch him have his food. I'm a big fan of how he came out. Really looks like a realistic Santasaurus. Really awesome. How can you not love a good Santasaurus? I'm a big fan of this guy. Look at him have his wonderful food. I like the edits to make it look much more realistic. So if you want an accurate Santasaurus, just download Zach's pack and he will have this for you. We've got a couple more accurate animals and we'll talk about them as time goes on in this episode. And I'm really excited to show off some of these guys. So yeah, now we're moving on to our next animal here, second one. We have got a new species this time. We have got Herosaurus. He's gonna go for a feed, I gathered. Look at this wonderful fellow. There we are. Look at this wonderful fellow here. So this is Herosaurus, which was a genus of stegosaurid that is found from the early Cretaceous period of Mongolia and China, very interestingly. And it kind of has two very big claims to fame. You can see it's got these very charismatic, like, half plates going on that are not, like, tall, like Stegosaurus or anything like that, even though they are closely related, but also being one of the latest living stegosaurs, as being living in the early Cretaceous, when most other stegosaurs went extinct around the end of the Jurassic period. So the type species is Herosaurus honhei, I believe, or honhei, I pronounced that, was the type species which was found in 1973 in the Turgulu group in Xinjiang, Western China. And there was also a bunch of different other specimens kind of found it as well that had add some new material to the holotype, which included like caudal vertebrae, scapulocoracoid, a lot of those other specimens. There was also another smaller stegosaur that was found from a similar formation that was thought to be another species, but turns out they pretty much lump into Herosaurus amani itself. And yeah, really cool animal. So it seemed to be a probably broad-bodied animal and was estimated to be about 7 meters long and weigh about 4 tons. So still quite large compared to other stegosaurs. Not quite as big as the largest Stegosaurus, Stegosaurus, but still pretty big. And you can see it has a much rounder plates as other stegosaurs. But it's also established that this could be part of the breakage as well. But seems that this could be part of it. It also has a pelvis where the ischia strongly flared outwards, which indicated it had a very wide belly. And actually had the neural spikes at the base of the tail were also exceptionally tall. So it had really tall spikes, as you can see here. So it really gives it its own distinct look compared to Stegosaurus. And I like how we used the Lost World textures because it looks much nicer. So on the phylogeny, it seems to be one of the most derived or the latest Stegosaurus. So it was very closely related to animals like Hesperosaurus and Stegosaurus itself. So that seems to be the where it was most related to. So it seemed to be related to Stegosaurus in the most recent analyses, sister to it, and is sometimes even being considered the same genus as Stegosaurus, but often it's been justified that these genera have been split, which is still really, really cool. And another thing about this guy is that it seemed to be much lower to the ground than most other stegosaurs, and I would believe that that was an adaptation to low grazing vegetation, so it would be grazing on ferns and low-growing plants on the ground. But also, it had a thagomizer in its tail that is very similar to other stegosaurs, and also there was also believed to be a single spike that was found on it was seen to be positioned on the shoulder for self-defense, but we don't know if that's really attributable to Herosaurus, since we don't really have evidence of animals like Stegosaurus having one, so it's kind of neither here nor there. But another cool thing about this guy as well was found in the Telugu group, and which would have been 130 million years ago, so about the end of the Cretaceous. And there have been other evidences of stegosaurs living around this time, such as the Weldon group in the UK, I believe. And there have been other stegosaur tracks, I believe, in Australia as well, or have been attributed to stegosaurs. So it seems there might be a little bit of a ghost lineage of a stegosaurs that lived in the early Cretaceous that we don't really know about too much. And then also, what's really cute is that the Telugu group includes the world's smallest stegosaur tracks, which measure about 5.7 centimeters in length. It indicates that it was a little baby dinosaur about the size of a cat, which is really, really cute, which potentially means that it could be a little baby traveling with its mum or hiding and trying to get away from predators like little turtles would do. That's still, I think, a very, very cute, really, really cute animal. So we're going to watch this guy have a feed. Wonderful stegosaur. Oh, how can you not love a good stegosaurus? Or a stegosaur? And I like how he elongated the neck as well, since it seems a lot of the reconstructions of Stegosaurus now have much longer necks due to the discovery of Sophie, which is pretty awesome. Look at that. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I like the colors as well. I think it came out quite nicely. How can you not love Stegosaurus? Stegosaurus is just so cool. And all these relatives, they're just one of my favorites. Look at this wonderful long fella. I was going to go for a run, I bet. Yep. Now we're going to be moving on to another guy. Now we've got some sauropods coming in. How can you not love some sauropods? We're going to be starting off with everyone's favorite pinhead, and certainly one I love. We've got Atlosaurus. So wait till this guy, see what he does. I think he's going to go for a little trot to get himself some food. Seems like it, so we'll just watch him do his thing. So yeah, Atlosaurus is a really very interesting dinosaur. He's known from the the Middle Jurassic of North Africa. So about the Bathanian or Calavonian stages. So about Middle Jurassic. So it's quite different from its relative Brachiosaurus, you can see here, since it has a very, very short neck, and dorsal vertebrae is about 3 meters. What is a dorsal vertebrae? And has a proportionally much larger skull, as you can see here, and a shorter neck with at least 17 cervical vertebrae, and a longer tail and more elongated humerus, so he's got much more gangly look to him, short neck and like really long legs, very, very interesting look. And the lower jaw of Atlosaurus is about 69 centimeters long, or 27 inches. The neck was about 3.86 or 12 feet long. The humerus was about 1.95 5 meters or 6'5" inches, and the femur was about 6'7" or about 2 meters. So the estimated adult weight of this guy would have been about 15 meters long, or 49 feet, and about 22.5 tons, or 24.8 short tons in weight. So very, very big fellow, as you can see here. Not the biggest fellow, but one of the biggest. But what I love here is you can see he got the right feet. So he's got the proper fleshy horseshoe going on, with the 2 big turtle feet at the back as well, and the claw. So yeah, let's, there he is, he's got him posed there ready, so we can see he's got these very weird long, what are you doing there? So we can see the very, very short neck. He's got a pretty big head comparatively, also the really long legs and the longer tail. So it's very, very almost awkwardly looking dinosaur. What are you shaking your jaw for? Very, very awkward looking generally, but I think he's still really cool. So this guy was described in the 1999 and was named after the location it was found in the High Atlas range of the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. So this is believed to be where Titan, the Greek, or the Titan Atlas from Greek mythology, kind of held up the world. So that's where it kind of gets named the Atlas Mountains, and was known from a nearly complete skeleton. That was pretty cool. And the animal size was about 15, so it's a pretty impressive to get an animal that's like 15 meters long with a complete specimen. So that's really awesome. So it's from the Guantura Formation in Morocco, and its name Atlosaurus el-Meleki comes from the Arabic word giant. So it's basically the Atlas lizard giant, or the giant Atlas lizard. So that's pretty cool. And it was a very primitive sauropod, so it does tell us a bit about the evolution of sauropods in general, and was first discovered in 1981 and described in 1999. And it appears to be closer to Brachiosaurus than other sauropods, based on a lot of similarities. But very, very interestingly, more recent analysis consider it a more punitive member of Tyrannosaurus, which were a group of sauropods that lived in Europe. They were a very, very weird endemic group that lived in like Europe and North Africa. Very, very interesting. But the more recent analysis does recover it as a brachiosaurid, so it's kind of neither here nor there. But the Tyrannosaurids are a very, very cool bunch of animals. So now we're going to watch them have a feed. Clearly having a good time there, is he? I think he looks kind of cute. But there's long front legs. It's like a Brachiosaurus if you pulled out its legs and you shrunk its neck and gave it a big head. I don't think it came out really nice. Look at that really wonderful fellow. There's a Santasaurus down there. Clearly having a good time. We're having some issues with his jaw, but that's par for the course with modding. I think it might be just where I have the camera. That looks better. So you're gonna go for a walk now? Seems like it. So now we're gonna move on to another really cool sauropod everyone knows and love. We have got Brachiosaurus's kind of really interesting cousin, African cousin, Giraffe Titan. So Giraffe Titan, a very, very interesting dinosaur he is. Is he going to go for a walk to grab some water? Looks like it. Is a genus of sauropod dinosaur. He's a close relative of Brachiosaurus. He dates back to the late Jurassic period, or the Cambrian or Tithonian of the late Jurassic, from what is now Tanzania. So it's from the Tendaguru Formation. Lives with animals like Ostyphocosaurus, as we mentioned a couple episodes ago. Also Kentrosaurus, Dicraeosaurus, we mentioned last episode, and has been known for many decades and believed to be one of the largest dinosaurs, if not the largest dinosaurs, until the discovery of things like Sauroposeidon and Argentinosaurus and things like that. But still is up there as one of the biggest dinosaurs there is. And is also, here's a little tidbit, is actually what most people think of as Brachiosaurus, because Brachiosaurus itself looked very, very different from Giraffatitan. And most cultural depictions of Brachiosaurus is Giraffatitan, since Brachiosaurus had a much more rounded body, a much more less pronounced crest. See here, it's less more obvious in Giraffatitan, and a much shorter tail and a much more rounded body. Still a very interesting little tidbit. And all size estimates are based on some of the specimens. It's known from a lot of known specimens, so we can get some pretty reliable size estimates. So there's a subadult individual that's believed to be about 21 to 22 meters long, or about 72 to 74 feet. Let's see, he's probably going to stop soon. And also about 12 meters tall, even though I believe there's specimens that are... These are subadults, so they could have got much larger. I believe there are specimens that got like 18 feet tall, or... I mean, not 18 feet, but potentially 15 meters tall or so from other specimens that we know of. I wonder if this guy's going to get in our way. Hopefully he doesn't get in our way. He's so tall. And mass estimates range from as much as little as 15 tons, or 17 short tons, or 78.3 tons. And then there's evidence of a fibia of a specimen that got about... Oh, it's going to bend down. So we'll just have a look at him while he's going for his drink here. So there is a specimen that is believed to be 13% larger than the other ones. So potentially got to about 26 meters or 85 feet in length or longer. So it's very possible that the Giraffatitan got quite large. So it was discovered in like the early 19th century with a lot of the excavations happening in Africa. Especially in German East Africa, and that's when it was found and described. Very interesting history there. So yeah, very, very huge. I believe the most recent estimates for weight of this guy is about 25 or 25 kilograms. I'm not 25 kilograms. 25 tons. That's way too small for an animal that big. So the most recent estimates believed to be about the largest, about 26 meters long, or 80 feet, or 25 meters, 82 feet, and 48 tons, which is believed to be at a shoulder height of 6.8 meters, or 22 feet. So that seems to be the largest they attained. That's the most recent estimate from 2020's sauropod book, Laramides' sauropod book. And you can see as a general, where it gets its name Giraffatitan is that it's very vaguely built like a giraffe. Very, very tall front legs and tall neck there. Very vaguely giraffe-like. And has these quite charismatic nostrils, as you can see here. When we look at his face, if we look at something like Brachiosaurus, it's got a much longer snout and not as pronounced crest, while in Giraffatitan, it's much more charismatically like long and a shorter mouth. It's very, very interesting. And a lot of people believe that they had nostrils at the back, top of their head, so it would be able to either allow them to breathe while they're underwater, or to not get... to breathe while they're eating in the trees and getting in the branches. But it seems, based on varanids, that they most likely still had their nostrils at the front of the mouth, like all other tetrapods. But yeah, this guy is very interesting. It is a brachiosaurid, so it's related to animals like, of course, Brachiosaurus, but it seems to be a little bit later, little bit earlier relative. So it's sister to Herosaurus and Brachiosaurus, so they are both closely related. So very, very interesting. As we know, Herosaurus is kind of the dwarf one from Europe. And it seems like, also in terms of its metabolism, we've done a little research on that. It seems that it was endothermic. If it was endothermic, they would have taken 10 years to reach their adult size, which we see in other sauropods. We can see like Apatosaurus probably got full age about mid-teens, which is pretty cool. But if it was poikilotheric or cold-blooded, it would have required over 100 years. So it would have been also needed to eat an enormous amount of food, like over 182 kilograms, to meet its daily requirements. And some scientists believe that these large dinosaurs like Giraffatitan could have been gigantotherms, though that is most likely not the case. They're most likely endothermic or warm-blooded. And yeah, And the paleoecology, as I mentioned, these guys were found in the late Jurassic to Naguru Formation. That was about 152 million years ago, so in the late Jurassic. And there would have been a shallow, like estuary lagoons and things like that, with not too much extreme weather, so a good place to grow lots of plants to feed these giants. And was found with animals, as I mentioned, Brachiosaurus, Kentrosaurus, there was an Allosaurus there, Elaphiosaurus, Ostaphycosaurus, Pyromyosaurus milleri, which is like a early Cacarodontosaur, so it's a very, very interesting habitat. And it seems to have a lot of parallels with, as I mentioned, the Morrison Formation, since a lot of the animals were found in the same, similar animals were found in the same place. But still very, very interesting regardless. So we're going to watch him have his drink. And then we're going to move on to the carnivores, which are all very, very interesting. And yeah, Giraffatitan is just such a cool animal. And we all know, and I think it's funny how we think as Brachiosaurus as Giraffatitan, when Brachiosaurus is really much weirder and less known than Giraffatitan. So I wonder if we could change the popular culture and say, oh, that's actually Giraffatitan, which has kind of happened, but it'd be cool to get a little bit more there. Yeah, Giraffatitan's one of my favourite animals. I really love Giraffatitan. Though I can't say I have favourites, all my animals are my favourites. Well, that's just me. But anyway, let's look at you, tall frame. Really wonderful big animal. So yeah, let's get out of that. And look at you, wonderful. But anyway, now let's move on to the carnivores. So we have got a really wonderful little carnivore here today. This is a rather new one, which is very, very interesting. It's Vespasaurus. So this one's a very, very weird, wacky little boy. So Vespasaurus, I believe he's going to go for a drink. I feel like he's going to go for a drink. That's not what I wanted to do, but yeah, that gives us a good look. Really shows off those really weird feet he's got. So Vespasaurus is a noasaurid theropod from the late Cretaceous of the Rio Panaro Formation from Brazil. And the species name is full Vespasaurus paranensis, which is believed to live in the giant prehistoric desert of the Bunchicao Desert, which was in Brazil in the late Cretaceous. So it's a noasaurid, which is a group of ceratosaurs, which are very, very weird little group of animals. But its name means evening or west lizard, which is where Vespa comes from, which is found in the Western Cross, where the town where it was found. And what really makes this guy weird, he was only described last year, I believe, 2019. It's a little bit earlier than that. What's really weird, he has functional monodactyly, which means he only walks on one toe. So if you see something like Velociraptor, where they have that one toe that they don't walk on and the other two, these guys pretty much did the opposite. They only walk on their middle toe, as you can see here, and the other two kind of raised for whatever reason. So the third digit in the middle would have borne most of the weight while it was walking, while the other two kind of stood up like that, as you can see here, which is very, very weird. And why I think it's a very interesting animal to include, because it shows that dinosaurs are really wacky. So based on the proportions of the holotype, it's believed to be about 1 to 1.5 meters long, so not a particularly large dinosaur, and it makes it comparable to in size in animals like Noasaurus and Macalaskosaurus, which is the one from Madagascar with the really weird jaw. And body mass estimates put it at about 11 kilograms, or a little over 11 kilograms, which puts it in size with monosischians such as Jehelosaurus and Gespanoa, I believe here, Respiratoria, how you pronounce that. So yeah, really, really weird, interesting animal. And we're going to watch him drink, watch him do his thing. Now he's going to run off. Now we're going to show off to our next animal. Now this is another cosmetic, so this is going to be very, very interesting. I'll talk about some recent updates with this Carnotaurus. So yeah, let's just have a look at this guy. So yeah, look at that. We've got ourselves a Carnotaurus that's a little bit more accurate. We can see compared to the game one, it's got a longer tail, a more smushed in face, way smaller arms with the tiny little fingers. So let's, he's probably going to go for a drink, I believe. So let's have a look at this wonderful guy. Look at how wonderful he is. So we can see also updated as the horns. So a lot of the horns are reconstructed way too small because a lot of keratin is missed, and we actually have from pictures, we have a Carnotaurus that had pretty much all its face scales preserved, but it was destroyed, I believe, because they just want to have a look at the skull. But there was a recent paper in 2021 that really, really talked about the skin and stuff, and we'll talk about that as we go over this, and we can see the. Oh, that's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to tilt. How do I fix the tilt? Let me just. There we are. Messed with the tilt. Oh, a little bit messy today, but that's okay. We'll just wait for him to. So just have a look at him posing like that. Very interesting pose. But anyway, so there was more recent studies that looked into the skin of Carnotaurus in 2021 that showed that the previous depictions with these large osteoderms and things are most likely inaccurate. So it shows that these larger sort of feature scales were kind of randomly placed around the body, and were not put in these rows, as you can see here, as depicted like this older skin reconstruction of Carnotaurus, which is obviously based off the Fallen Kingdom one. But this is obviously more recent than Fallen Kingdom, so you can't really blame them. But these large feature scales more randomly dispersed across the body, unlike these older depictions. And there's also no sign of progressive size variation in the feature scales along the different parts of the body. And it also shows that the basement scales, or the base scales of them, were highly variable, and ranging from size and shape, from smaller elongated to large and polygonal. Also from circular to lenticular on the thoracic, scapular, and tail regions. So under the underbelly and the under the neck and under the belly and under the tail. So it seemed to be those kind of polygonal scales. And what's really interesting as well is this actually tells us a lot to how about it thermoregulated its body temperature, or regulated its body temperature. So it's believed that this would have helped it be able to shed off excess body heat, similar to something how like an elephant would get rid of excess body heat by shedding it through its scales and stuff. So it kind of created more surface area and things, which is really, really cool. It's a really interesting study. And because this is obviously a warm-blooded animal, most dinosaurs are believed to be warm-blooded, and being a very active runner is inferred from its anatomy. It shows that with its large size and its really active lifestyle, being able to keep cool is very, very important. So I think that's really cool that they looked into that, and tells us a lot more about Carnotaurus, because we know a lot about Carnotaurus, and I feel like I could do like a whole video just on Carnotaurus and talking about it, but I think I've already covered it a few times on these episodes, so I wanted to talk about these recent discoveries and show that our understanding of these animals are always changing. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. So what we're going to do is watch this guy have his drink as well. And now we're going to be moving on to another guy, another interesting fellow. Another Abelisaur too. So now he's going to go for a feed. Now we've got Pyromyosaurus, I pronounced that. So let's watch him go for his run. He's going to go for a feed. I'll just pause it and then watch him go for his... So look at this wonderful big fellow. So, Pyromyosaurus, which means the dense forest lizard, was a bellysaurid, or a carnivorous theropod, that came from the Upper Cretaceous of the Campbell unit in Brazil, and lived about 70 million years ago during the late Cretaceous, about the Maastrichtian, so right at the end of the Cretaceous. And the type species, Pyromyosaurus Neversi, was formally described in 2002, which was named from an average specimen, but it really only had like a few, had a couple leg bones and some vertebrae, but still was a really interesting animal. So even though it's fragmentary, it's believed to be one of the largest of the abelisaurs, and pretty large. So initial size estimates estimated this guy was about 7 meters long, or 23 feet, and 1.2 tons in weight. But later analysis found it was actually much larger, so about 8.9 or 29.2 feet long. And the new size estimate makes it the most currently the largest abelisaurid known. And another estimate made it even bigger at about 9.3 meters or 30 feet long and a weight of 3.6 tons. So it's one of the largest abelisaurids known. And it's kind of that also showing that evolution, that as the late Cretaceous went on and these large carcharodontosaurs went extinct, the abelisaurids kind of took that role as the apex predator in the ecosystem and created animals like, of course, Pyromyosaurus, which is very interesting. And is also one of the best known abelisaurids from Brazil, where most theropod material is pretty rare and only found in teeth and footprints, but was found and mostly comes from the lower Cretaceous. But this guy was a predator, so during the late Cretaceous, it would have been hunting on mid-sized sauropodomorphs, also crocodilians, and dromaeosaurs as well. And its teeth were sharp, small yet sharp, and were used to holding prey as the abelisaur kind of shook and tore them apart, almost like a dog with a chew-choy. That seemed to be how a lot of abelisaurs seem to dispatch prey. And you can see a lot of convergence with tyrannosaurs as they get these smaller boxy skulls and also these reduced arms, since their heads became kind of their dominant weapon. And yeah, really interesting. But it seems to also differ from other abelisaurids, such as Herosaurus, where they have a little bit more different distal caudals and things like that. Really interesting. I really love this guy. I really love that I can talk about this guy as well. I've only been talking about him for a while. Now I'll watch him eat. Have a wonderful food. A wonderful feed. You do be eaten though. So I think he's finished. Yep. So now we're going to move on to our second to last animal. We have got everyone's favorite Tyrannosaur. We've got Daspletosaurus. Or everyone's second favorite Tyrannosaur. So I've already talked about this guy a couple times. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but as we can see, Daspletosaurus is an early relative of animals like Tyrannosaurus. It lived about 79 to 74 million years ago. What are you doing over here? And was during the late Cretaceous. And there is two species known. There is Vespasaurus taurus, which has been found in Alberta, and Daspletosaurus horneri, which was found only in Montana. And there's another one that is believed to be, well, most likely the same genus, so to be Daspletosaurus dinogrotum, but may belong to a separate genus, Thanatorestus, I believe you pronounced that. Dinosaurs are probably oversplit as heck, but anyway. It seems to be a much early relative of Tyrannosaurus rex, and seemed to be kind of on that way to becoming like that. And also was starting to get a bit bulkier and a bit bigger, like with these large teeth and such. And is actually really well known in a lot of regards. It got to about 8 to 9 meters long and 2.5 metric tons. So one of the largest, but not quite as big as things like Tarbosaurus and Tyrannosaurus. Very, very interesting. And is related in Tyrannosaurine with other tyrannosaurs, such as Tetraphonius, the dinosaur park Tyrannosaurus, which is believed to be another species of Daspletosaurus. Those kind of animals. An early relative on its way to becoming Tyrannosaurus rex, though Tyrannosaurus rex came from Asia. And really, really interestingly, from what we know is that Daspletosaurus may have had social behavior, because there have been a couple packs or bone beds with 8 different aged individuals living and hunting together, believed. But obviously you can only infer some of that so much. But it's cool that we have lots of assemblages that potentially point to Tyrannosaurus as being social, and Daspletosaurus as well. And another really interesting as well is how they grew. So in contrast to Tyrannosaurs, which I will talk about soon, these guys didn't get nearly as large as obviously Tyrannosaurus, and didn't have that extreme growth period between in their teens, but these guys were at the maximum growth rate. These guys were putting on 180 kilograms a year, so that's about the weight of a big person, or even 2 people per year, at the highest point of their growth rate. So that's very, very interesting. So this guy is found in all sorts of different formations, and lived in animals like Centrosaurus and Beltoceratops, Saurornitholestes, Pachycephalosaurs, Ornithomimids, Therizinosaurs, animals like that, and actually coexisted with Gorgosaurus, which is sometimes lumped into, I believe, Albertosaurus. But it seems there may have been some niche partitioning going on there, where the more robust Daspletosaurus lived on things like Ceratopsians and Ankylosaurs, while the more lean and mean Albertosaurus lived off Ornithomimids and hadrosaurs and things like that, so there could be potential niche partitioning. But yeah, I think he really came out well. I'm a big fan of these guys. Also, there could be elevations, so like Daspletosaurus may have lived in more southern latitudes, and Gorgosaurus in more northern latitudes, so it just depends. Still really, really interesting nonetheless. Still a lot that we could learn from just a few specimens. But look at this wonderful guy, and now he's going off to his own thing, and we're going to be having a look at our last animal. So this one is less about being, we're going to talk more about the specimen, really. So, really, really awesome. We have got Tyrannosaurus rex, but we've got a subadult. Very, very interesting. So we have got Jane, the Tyrannosaurus, the Tweenosaurus, or the preteen. So, this, not Daspletosaurus, I was just going to say Daspletosaurus. Jane is a Tyrannosaurus specimen. Name is BMRP 200241. So that's her official designation. She was discovered in the Hell Creek Formation of southern Montana. And after being prepared for 4 years... let's see, she's probably going to go grab some food. No, she's going for a drink. Oh no, she's going for food. Let's get a good picture of her and a good look. A really, really wonderful queen she is. So, after 4 years of preparation in the Burpee Museum of Natural History, she was the centerpiece of an exhibit, Jane, Diary of a Dinosaur. And she was initially thought to represent juvenile Tyrannosaur, so about 11 years old. She seemed to be 11-year-old at the time of her death. And she measured about 6.5 meters long as a mounted skeleton, and was about half as long as another complete Tyrannosaurus named Sue, who was about 12 to 13 meters long. And the weight of Jane has been estimated at potentially about 680 kilograms, or 1,500 pounds, so a little under 700 kilograms. And it seems to indicate the kind of niche partitioning that was happening between the adults and subadult Tyrannosaurs. As you can see, this subadult Tyrannosaurus is built very, very differently from the adults, where it seems like they were occupying different niche in the ecosystem, as these younger ones would be kind of going after the faster animals, such as ornithomimids or animals like that. Faster animals that we're easier able to outrun. But as they got older, specifically about their late teens, so about 18 potentially, they would have gone through a huge growth spurt, putting on like a few 100 kilos every month or so, until they got to their adult size, so an adult Tyrannosaurus, where they got these huge bone-crushing jaws, which would allow them to eat animals such as ceratopsians and ankylosaurs, and large hadrosaurs, animals like that. Very, very interesting, I think. And her speed has actually been estimated about 20 to 30 miles per hour, which I believe is about 40 to 50 kilometers or something like that, so very, very fast. I'm not sure the exact conversion of that, don't quote me on that. But she also has 17 serrated teeth, which are much more different. They're much leaner and meaner than the teeth of a adult Tyrannosaurus. And she also was a spot of a bit of controversy. So there was the proposed Tyrannosaur genus of Nanotyrannus, when Jane's skull was nearly identical to the original holotype of Nanotyrannus, so they believed that they were the same species. And there was the idea there was sort of pygmy tyrants living in the Hell Creek. And there was also the idea that they're looking at and they were like, oh, this is actually potentially a juvenile Tyrannosaurus. But while there are still people that still hang on to the idea of Nanotyrannus, it's a bit of a controversial topic. It's not much less controversial now than it was. But it seems that most definitely Jane and Nanotyrannus itself was just young Tyrannosaurs in that kind of pre-teen age, which is really, really cool. So I think it tells us a lot about how these dinosaurs lived their life. How a little baby, we got baby Tyrannosaurs like Chomper, and then how they grew up to be the giant animals like Sue and Scotty. I think that's really, really awesome and tells us a lot about how they grew up. So yeah, really, really wonderful to see that we managed to get Jane in here, and she's based on Tyrannosaurus too, so I think that's really, really awesome. See that growth stages, really, really awesome. So we will watch her eat. And we actually don't know if Jane is a male or a female. That's just kind of the effective name. Like, Sue is kind of assumed female, but we just really don't know. There is the idea that the females were larger than the males in dinosaurs, like most birds, but there's really no way to prove that with such small amount of specimens, and it's really hard to tell the sex of an animal from its bones, unless you have a medullary bone, and that's only when the female is getting ready to lay eggs. But yeah, I think it came out really, really well with Jane. We'll watch her have a drink, and I think they'll be in the episode. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with how it came out here. Maybe a little bit less red, but I think it looks really, really nice on her. And we can see the differences in the skull. She's got such a lean and mean skull. She looks more like a Gorgosaurus or an Albertosaurus than a Tyrannosaurus, in my opinion. And that just shows the different ecologies, which I think is really, really awesome. So yeah, I'm going to clarify. So this whole pack is Zach's new species pack. So this was all done by Zach with help from Game Videos for Life and Maxley. So yeah, I think this would be a great place to end the episode now. So I really, really, really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys like and subscribe. Always remember to click the little bell icon in the corner there to get notified when I upload anything. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys like and subscribe, and bye-bye.